and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. Now, I'm going to do the same thing as I did last week. I'm going to start off with a song that I wrote. There's no background tape to it. I just want to show you how knowing a few notes can cause you to play a lot of music, and it's good music too. It's not just something that's, you're just blowing the instrument and whatever comes out, comes out. When I write music, I like to write music for students. And when I write music, I have a definite time signature, a definite key signature, and a definite way of playing it, and some of it is scale work, and some of it is sustained notes. So I'm going to play this little thing. You don't have the music up here because I've got a ton of other things to show you, but let me just try this. And it's a waltz. It's in 3/4 time. Now, like I did it in the first segment that I did, or the previous segment that I did, there's a definite time signature, there's a definite tempo, there's definite sharps or flats, and by playing little songs like this, and this is kind of like halfway between a song and halfway between an exercise, you can learn how to play, and you can play very good music with not too many notes. And what we're working on are these notes that I reviewed with you last time. Now, so let me do through a little bit of review, and then we're going to get into scales. When you take an instrument to play it, remember you take it and you use your left hand always on top and your right hand on the bottom. I've seen students try to do it the opposite way, and that's not the right way. Always the left hand on top. And then you have your first finger, which is your B, and your thumb hole is going to be covered. For the notes that we're doing, the thumb hole is always going to be covered right now. Later on, I'll show you notes in which the thumb hole is not covered or it's just partially covered. And when you put the instrument in your mouth, you know that you put it in about 1/3 of the way, and your teeth actually go on the top of the instrument, and your lower lip goes on top of your lower teeth, so you get your instrument in, and you squeeze the side so you get something like this. This is the way it's going to look. And when you start to blow into it, you've got the tongue. You can just blow, but you're not going to get anything that's good. There's nothing defined in that. You have to tongue it. That means you take your tongue and you hit the instrument where it's in your mouth about 1/3 of the way, and you pull it back like you're saying ta. You don't keep it there, because if you keep it there, you won't get a tone. Trust me. So you just tap it like you're saying ta or tu, and that's the tonguing, and that gets the air moving in a positive direction. And then it's not just the molecules aren't just flip-flopping around. They're actually progressing through the instrument, and you get a good clear tone. Now, I'm just fooling around with this, but you wouldn't be able to get those clear tones unless you were able to tongue. So this is the way that you hold the instrument, and I reviewed last time how you play. Well, the thing I want to bring out to you is that when you're playing these 6 notes, B, A, G, F, E, D, just these 6 notes, those are 6 notes, and it's practically an octave. An octave is 8 notes, and the 8th note repeats the first note. And it's like a scale. It is a scale. And a scale is when you just get a note after note after note, going back down or going back up. Now, I did tell you to use for the F this fourth finger. 3 fingers on top, B, A, G, and then the index finger, which is the 4th finger down on the recorder, but it's on the right hand, that is your F key. B, A, G, F, E, D. Now, for most instruments, or a lot of instruments, you would want to add another note, another key, another finger down for the F. And I'm going to show you why, and I'll do that on this wooden instrument. This instrument is German. And now listen to this. This is the F, and I'm going to add this 3rd finger down. That is a Baroque, what's called a Baroque fingering. It lowers the pitch a little bit so it's a little bit more accurate. Some instruments you don't have to do that. Most instruments you do have to do that. Is better than. There's not much difference. If you didn't listen to it, you wouldn't catch it. But I catch it immediately because I played it this morning and I said, wait a minute here, this needs to have an added finger. And I did that and it went immediately into pitch. Pitch is very, very important when you're playing. You want everything exactly in pitch. And what the things I like about the instruments that I do have some instruments that don't pitch exactly. I can still use them for teaching. I can still use them for playing some solos, and I have, because some solos are written to be slightly off pitch. And if you have an instrument that matches it, then you do fine with it. But if everything is pitched perfect, which is A440, then instruments that are off pitch, you have to either transpose them or fiddle around with them and overcome that, because if it's not exactly in pitch, it doesn't sound exactly right. So here is the German, and this is a German sonata. So, but on that it needs the extra finger. So these are scales. The scales that we usually play as a recorder player. Let's see. This is what I'm looking for. The key of C has no sharps and no flats. You start on the C. You get to a C that's octave. Now, you can get another octave up, but that's not what I'm teaching you for now. And then you go back down. The key of G, it starts on the G. Whatever the key is, if they say we're playing in the key of G, then there's a scale for it, and it starts on the note that is named for it. So the key of G has 1 sharp, and it starts on the G. The F sharp is the sharp, and you get it up, and then you go back down. And of course, you have to play it going back down. The key of D has 2 sharps, so you start on the D because the key is considered to be the key of D. There are 2 sharps. One is the F sharp, and one is the C sharp. You play them going up, and you play them going down, both of them. Now, the key of F, some people might have trouble playing it. It's a flatted key. It's not a major key in sharps. It's a flatted key, and the flat is the B flat. So F, G, A, this B flat, that note will be flatted, C, D, E, F, and then again on the way down, that B flat is flatted again. So that's the key of F. So you get a scale. If you're going to have a scale on the bass clef, which is the lower clef, excuse me, and then the treble clef, which goes up here, you have what's called the middle C. It's halfway between the upper and the lower staff, and you play some notes in the bass, and then it goes up to the treble, and this note is halfway between, so it can be played as both a bass note or a treble note, which is why I have the flag in both directions. But these scales are basically up and down, and you can do that with what I'm going to be teaching you in terms of scale work. So it's important for you to know. Now here's another fingering chart that I made out. I have it down to the D, and then I go up to the G, which is as far as I'm going to be taking you in the next few lessons. It does get, the instrument is capable of getting 2 or 3 notes above that, and then back down to the lower C. And I'm not adding sharps or flats here, but we're doing the fingerings for all of the notes. So here is an E. There it is on the staff. You can see it. And this is the fingering. And you'll notice that these little notes that normally would be covered, that's the thumb hole. When you get to that D, and when you get to that E, they're only half holed, because you need to be able to get the octaves. That E, for example, there is a lower E below it. I didn't write it in, but that's where it is. And you would need to have your fingers closed and the thumb hole closed for the lower, and you take and you just let that air in by half holding that note, and you'll pitch it right up to an octave. So this is another fingering chart. These are the notes that I'm teaching you. Now, the instrument does go down to a lower C and does go up to a higher C. It's a 2-octave instrument, but we have D, E, F, G, A, B, C. And then it repeats D, E, F, G, D, G, and then going back down, it goes down F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, E, D. So we go up and we go down. Now, when I am actually teaching you, and I'm teaching you the B, A, G, F, E, D for the main notes, what we're talking about is right here, B, A, G, F, E, D. That section. That's the whole section that the recorder plays. Now, you also have the B, A, G, F, E, D, but you wouldn't be playing it that way because we read music from left to right, not from right to left. So to play that series of notes, you would start on the D, E, F, G, A, B, just the other way. Because I'm teaching you from the top note down, we're actually going to be doing it from B, A, G, F, E, D down here. So those are the notes that we're playing. Now, that may not seem like a lot to you. If you take a look at the scale, those series of 6 notes don't seem like such a lot. However, they're more than you may think, because those series of notes are repeated over and over and over again. If you're to look at, and I'm going to skip this right here. This is what I just played. If you take a look at the scale, you can go C, D, E, F, G, and then it starts to go to A. Or you start at A, B, C, D, E, F, G. As soon as you finish with the G, it goes automatically back to A again. Now, there's no such thing as note H, I, J, or K going on to Z. Now, those notes may well exist, and animals may be able to hear them because they can hear more than we can hear for tones. But we have to base the scales on what we actually can hear. We can hear from the low C, and we can hear up to the high C. We can even go above that. But there's a limit to what we can hear. When we hear the G, we don't hear a note that's H and I and J. It's not in our brain. We can't conceive of it. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but we can't conceive of it. Our ears can't pick it up. What we do is we'll start picking up octaves of all the notes that we have just played. So we are limited in that sense. So this is a 2-octave keyboard. Here's your C, there it is on the piano, on the keyboard. And here's your D. And here's your E, first line, it's right here. Your F, it's on the first space, right here. G is on the second line, right here. You can follow it up. A is right here, B is right here, and C is right here. And then you can follow it up to the other octave. This is the higher C. The recorder cannot get above that note. Other instruments can. The flute can get a few notes higher than that. But the recorder stops at that note. Then you have your B, A, G, F, E, then D and C. You're not playing it that way because you're playing it from left to right. But I like to show students where these notes are on the keyboard because you can see how the notes relate to each other. I can say, okay, C and E, that happens to be a third, and you can see where it would be. C, E is a third. C, F is a fourth. The octave is going to be A to A. I can show them this, and you can see how notes relate to each other, and you're not going to be able to do it without a keyboard. I know most of the people who take lessons, and it happened to me as well. When I took lessons, they teach you how to play the instrument, they teach you how to play the notes, they teach you the fingerings, they teach you the timing, they make sure that you're in pitch and all of that, and that's all very good. But do you know really how come it is as it is? Why is a sharp a sharp? Why is a flat a flat? How can a note be both a sharp and a flat? And they can be. If you look at the B, a B sharp is going to be a C. A C sharp is this note here. It's going to be the same as a D flat. Some of these notes can be flatted, and some of these notes can be flat. So sharp. So a note can be either a flat or a sharp, depending upon where you're coming from and how you write it. And you don't really understand that if you don't see it. You play it, and it makes sense to you and it sounds right, but you don't understand where it comes from if you don't have a chance to see it and see the relationship between the notes, which is why I end up by using a keyboard. And its scales, of course, are made of whole steps and half steps. Here is a half step. The black notes are all sharps and flats. And the regular notes, the white notes are just irregular notes. So that E sharp is actually going to be an F. That's a half step there. Sharp is one half step up, and a flat is one half step down. So when I say an F sharp, I mean here, this is the sharp, but that could easily be a G flat. The same note. This is the way that the notes are. But these will be sharps and flats. And if you want to think in terms of scales as being steps and half steps, so let's start with this A. Here's a step right here. But this is a half step. And this is a full step because you have your black note there. And D and E, that's going to be a full step between them. But the E and F is only going to be a half step because there's no black note there. So to get a full step, you're going to have to go from E to F sharp. So let's take the C major scale. We don't have much time left, but let me explain this to you. Scales are made out of half steps and whole steps. So if we let's start with the C down here. C to E is a full step. D to E, is a full step. Then E to F is a half step. F to G is a full step. G to A is a full step. A to B is a full step. But B to C is a half step. Well, let's take the key of G. The key of G has one sharp, and it's F sharp. So your G to A is a full step. Your A to B is a full step, but your B to C is your half step. Then your C to D is full, D to E is full, but E to F, this is your full step, is going to be E to F because in the key of G, that F is sharp. So E to F is your full step, and then your half step is that F sharp to that G. So the pattern of scales, the major scales, I'm not talking about minor scales, is always the same. You have a full step, a half step. Then you have another full step, full step, and the last tone is the half step. And that pattern is the way it is for all of the major scales. If I did it for the key of D, now D has two sharps. So you have your D, and the sharps are C sharp and F sharp. So if I start on D down here, D to E is a full step. E to F sharp is that second full step, and F is sharp in the key of D. Then you have your half step, so that's F sharp to G, that's your half step. Then G to A, full step. A to B, full step. B to C sharp is another full step. There's no black. If I had B to C, it would be half step, but it's supposed to be a full step. So you go to the sharp, you go to the sharp, and then that half step on the end is that C sharp to D, your last half step. And all of the major scales are like that. It's an interesting pattern. And when you start on a scale and you want to learn the scale, if you can remember that pattern, full step, half, full step, full step, half, then you can get all the notes right. Now, this may sound complicated, but when you start to play, it's going to start making sense. And so next time, we're almost finished for today, but I didn't expect to get into all of this. But at any rate, when we meet next time, I'm going to tell you more about the scales, about playing them, about what the keyboard does, so you'll have an appreciation of what it is that you're learning and how to play. And it'll be amazing how well you'll be able to play just from learning a few notes. So I'm going to close it here, and please join me next time.